Aloha! Today I'm going to share with you a fun series of things that you can do that are kind of go-to positions in different relationships to gravity. So all you're going to need is a strap. And what I mean by that is a few things you can do: standing, sitting, lying down, reclined, if you just have a few minutes, or if you want to do a full practice in each position. Different relationships to gravity, different relationships to where we are in space, always good for our visual vestibular systems, as well as figuring out proprioceptively, which means where our understanding of where our bodies is in space. So first thing, many of you already know, it's important to lengthen your spine. So the first thing is to find a place where you can do that. I have a ledge. I'm guessing you have a chair or a wall or a sink. So go ahead over to that and take your hands on to the ledge and then walk backwards. Bend your knees a little bit and get the length in your spine. As always, be careful that your lower ribs are not sinking. And just reach back and breathe. You might stay here or very slowly move towards straightening your legs. If your back rounds when you straighten your legs, then don't straighten your legs. But just very slowly move towards extending. Stay breathing. I'm holding this for a while, so at any time you feel like you've been here long enough, you can come out of it. I'm noticing and feeling that my hips are not quite under my heels, so above my heels, so I'm going to take my feet a little further back, get even more of a right angle. I find when I do that, I get a little bit more sensation in my lower back. Breathing. So if you have one thing, only time for one thing to do, and you have a ledge, this is a great one. All right, then take a step forward and come into mountain pose. So since we are doing a full practice today, even though we're throwing out all these different positions, let's take a moment to tune in and find mountain pose. Feel your feet parallel to each other. Go ahead and lift your toes. As you lift your toes, root down at the base of your toes, your heels. Reach your fingertips down towards the floor. Shoulder blades come down, spine lengthens up. Bring your toes back down. Check that you really have your hips over your heels. Take a few breaths. Inhale with expansiveness. Exhale, possibility of letting go of what you don't need to hold on to, while also having a sense of connection from the earth to the heavens. Good. And then release by bringing a sense of flow into your body. The arms, the spine, the hips. I guess this is another go-to thing to do. As I was contemplating this, I could come up with many, many go-to things. So I think there's tier 1 and tier 2. So today I'm going to show you a tier 1, with the intention of 3 things to do in each position. Even though we've already done 3 things. We've done the right angle, we've done mountain pose. We've done a little bit of just floating, flowing. But for the 3 things, more classic yoga things, the right angle, let's go ahead and do that again. Find the ledge or your chair, whatever you're using. Take your hands onto that ledge. Walk back. This time I'm going to be a little more careful, get my hips above my heels. Bend your knees a little bit, lift and widen your sit bones. Right, if you're on the edge of a sink, you can really pull back. If you're at a ledge, you can maybe push into, like a fence or something. That's a nice different sensation for the shoulder blades. Or if you're against a wall, or if you're just holding on and you don't want to knock the chair over, focus on pressing the legs back. Breathe. And then take a step forward, release, come back up into mountain pose, stand with your feet parallel. Good. So second thing, take your feet a little wider than your hips. Another great go-to thing to do, hip circles. So just going round and round. So hip circles are moving the biggest joint in the body, hip joint. Moving the thigh bone in the hip socket. So as you go around, we're still continuing the same direction. You feel how the position of the pelvis affects the position of the spine. So pelvis goes back, spine goes forward, to the side, goes the opposite direction. Just notice how moving one place gets other parts moving. That's another reason why this is a wonderful go-to position. If when you do this you find there's a spot that's a little sticky, maybe right here for me, go a little bit slowly in and out of that spot, and then continue the circles, and then switch directions. Take your time. So this could be something, actually if you only got 10 seconds, a great thing to do, or if you've got a minute or 3 minutes. But very good for keeping the differentiation of how the thighs move in the hip joint, which frees up the back and many other things. All right, come on back to center, back into mountain pose, and then grab your strap. This you can do if you don't have a strap as well, but I like doing it with a strap first. Simply taking the arms overhead, another go-to great thing to do. Hold the strap between your thumb and forefinger. Inhale your arms up. Lift your toes. As you lift the toes, root down at the base of the toes, the heels. Lengthen up with the spine. So this go-to position, like others, can be something you just don't really think a lot of and you just take your arms on up. Or you can use it as an opportunity to feel into a lot of the different parts. So I already talked about the feet grounding down, spine lengthening it up. Can you find a little more length in the side ribs, opening up through the awesome armpits? Notice if the wrists tend to kind of sink in. Reach through the thumb side of the wrist. That's going to affect the shoulders. And then, of course, what's happening in the center of your body? Are the ribs poking forward? Or can you have your hips over your heels, lower ribs, hip points, and pubic bone in a nice line with each other? My tendency is to over tuck a little, so I tilt the pelvis a little bit so the lower ribs, hip points, and pubic bone are in a nice line with each other as I breathe. And this is another thing you can hold for a while like we're doing, or you might only have 5-10 seconds to do it. And I'm sure some of you can imagine other things to do from this position. That would be a next step. But right now we're just staying with the main one. All right. And then as you come down, keep your spine long. Arms come down, but the spine stays long. And then release the strap, find mountain pose. And we're going to transition to all fours. So let's do that with a little fluidity again. Moving whatever parts feel like moving. I really like being able to go from the angular to the fluid. The static holds to the more flowing movements. And then however you go, flow your way down to the floor, onto the ground. We're going to come onto all fours. So on all fours, go to. And I think this one's really important because we spend so much time with our eyes forward and rounding our back and not being in touch with the shoulder blades. So Scarabasana. So spread your fingers gently, shoulders above the wrists, hips over heels, slide your shoulders away from your ears. let your head release. Now allow for a little traction in the neck. That's a nice bonus of this position. And then bring your shoulder blades towards each other and away from each other, up and down. At your own pace, encourage the base of the thumb and forefinger to stay rooted. And at some point you may begin to feel this fold of the skin that happens between the shoulder blades. You might notice that your head starts to look up. It's not always easy to let it hang. We're so used to having it in one position. Okay, and now come back to neutral. And from here, let's do a little cat and cow tilts. So start by drawing your sit bones down, slowly arch along the spine, one vertebra at a time until you come to that nice cat stretch. Once you're there, press down with the palms. Take your shoulder blades away from each other. Let your head really hang. And then we go the other direction, starting it slow and then maybe later faster, lifting the sit bones. Let that reverberate one vertebra along the spine. At some point, you're going to feel like you want to lift your head. At that point, slide your shoulder blades down your back. Your arms will rotate a little. Open the collarbones. Lift, reach the collarbones forward to lift your head. Good. And then go back and forth at your own pace. So another go-to movement. Having fluidity in the spine. It's hard to know, like in some yoga practices, some traditions are all these static postures, which are considered the classic ways, and it's hard to know how much the practitioners of yore were actually moving, because all we have is statues to represent what they were doing. So my guess is they did this too. Alright, and then come to neutral. Maybe any wardrobe adjustments might be necessary. Sometimes things move around. And then, third thing, puppy pose. Tuck your toes under. Extend one arm. Extend the other arm. Slide your shoulders away from your ears. Look at the space between your hands. So we're going to feel that effects of Scarabasana. Keep looking and then lean back. You won't get very far with your head up. Take this time to breathe. And then let your head release and lean back. Getting the length in your spine. Keeping the feeling of the lumbar curve. And then, when you're ready, slide into child's pose. So that's just as a way to release. Arms out in front or down in the direction of your feet. And then make your way up to sitting. Okay. In sitting, let's sit cross-legged. To start with, and here you might need a little height. If you find that you're round, please get a little height. And let's continue a good position in sitting. A go-to movement is to rock back and forth, rocking the belly. So rocking through the spine. So take your sit bones forward, reach the arms forward, and then take the sit bones back, reach your arms back. So this one, along with getting the spine moving like we just did in cat and cow tilts, gives you a little more access to the shoulders. Another great go-to thing to do. So this you can do in a chair too. Just getting the fluidity in the spine, getting the movement in the shoulders, shoulder blades, the chest, the heart. All right, and then the next time you come up with the heart open, take a moment there, be on the front edge of your sit bones. Number 2 is Dandasana. So take your feet out in front. I think my toes might disappear here, but know that they are still connected. Take your hands to the backs of your thighs. Press your hands into your thighs, thighs into your hands. Very slowly move towards straightening the legs. So a good way to practice grounding. Oh, you get to still see my toes. How good. Grounding the thighs, extending the legs, and really getting a true full extension of our legs. There's so much of the time we think we're straightening their legs, and we're not. So just to check, bend your right knee a little bit, take your hand to the back of the thigh, and really press the hand into the thigh, thigh into the hand, so that belly of the hamstring straightens out. And then let's do the same thing on the other side. Bend the left knee, hand onto the back of the thigh, and extend by pressing the hand into the thigh. Good. So Dandasana, arms by your side. Open up the spaces between your toes. Breathe. Good. And then release back into cross-legged. Take your right ankle in front of the left. So of course, sitting is a great place to practice twisting. So classic twist, sit bones ground, spine lengthen. Take your right hand to the left side of your navel. Inhale, lift and lengthen your spine. On your exhalation, slide your hand across the navel to encourage the movement to come from the center of your body. Don't use your hands quite yet, just let the arms move because they're attached to your torso. When you finish your exhalation, stop, inhale, and exhale, go further, incrementally moving up the spine so your head doesn't turn right away, but it does eventually. Then when you're doing this, notice my tendency is to lean towards the sit bone of the way I'm twisting. Keep the opposite sit bone rooted. That will help you get really a nice full twist in the spine. Left hand comes to the right knee. Right hand can come behind your back. Taking your time again. From the belly to the rib cage to the shoulders. And last but not least, turning your neck, turn your head, and even turn your eyes to the right. And then once you feel you've gotten, to as far as you're going to go, moving the torso, go ahead and be a little more active with the left hand. Press a hand into the knee, and that will draw you a little further into the twist. One more inhalation, and on the exhalation, unwind. Back to center, and second side. So switch across of your legs. I like taking time with the twist sometimes because it can really feel good. All right, second side. From the belly, begin to spiral. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, spiral. Again, notice if you begin to lean, try to stay even on both sit bones. I find that really helps get a little more into the lower belly when I do that, which for me feels very good. Taking your time, the twist gently rides up the spine. Coming into the rib cage, to the shoulders, to the neck, to your head, even to the eyes. And then once you've gotten to your maximum, use your right hand to pull a little bit more. or draw yourself a little more deeply into the twist. One more inhalation, and on the exhalation, go ahead and unwind. All right, back to center. So far we've done standing, all fours, seated. Another position, another relationship to gravity, is to lie down on your belly. So sometimes actually just doing that is a go-to position because we so rarely do that. I think most of us rarely do that. So go ahead, lie down on your belly, making sure that it feels all right in your lower back. And rest your forehead on your hands. Let's take a little time to breathe here. So one of the nice things about lying on the belly is it gives you the opportunity to actually draw your breath into your back. Often we don't do that, so it gives us the opportunity to do it. So I'd like to use that as a first position. Is resting your forehead. As you inhale, encourage the breath to come into your lower back. Exhale, let go. And if you want to, you can extend that to coming into the sides of your waist. Or really expand that. Pun intended. And then next position is to reach your arms straight out. Start with your forehead on the ground. Then roll your arms so your palms face each other. Reach through your arms, reach through your legs. Press down at the base of the palms. Press down with the tops of the feet. And lift the chest up. And breathe. Now some of you, as go-to positions, might choose to also play around with moving from this position to lift one arm or one leg or both or all. But for today, in this practice, I want us just to hold. So reach the legs long so you get a nice sense of lengthening through the spine. And then go ahead and release. Rest your forehead on your hands and rock a little side to side. Okay, and then we're going to build on that extension by coming towards Sphinx pose. So what you're going to do is very slowly walk your elbows towards your center. And as you walk the elbows towards the center, lift the chest. Now, it's very easy to just jam into the lower back here. And I think I'm doing a little of that right now. So I'm going to lower down a little. Slide my shoulders away from your ears. Really reach through the legs. Press the palms down. And as you lift up, find that sense of Scarabasana, the space between the shoulder blades. Lift the chest. So you might get a little stretch in your belly as you do this. And breathe. The more you press down with the palms, the forearms, the more you can firm the shoulder blades. Create a nice extension of the spine. Reach through the legs. So this is a back bend, obviously, but consider that the back bend begins at the tips of your toes, goes all the way up through the crown of your head. Good. And then release. Take your elbows out to your side. Rock the sacrum a little side to side. And then 2 ways to come out of this pose. One is to roll over to your side and then use your hands to come up, or if you're going to lie down your back, do that. Or if you feel you do want a little stretch in the spine after you've done that, like if you overdid the lower back a little bit, press down with your forearms, lift up, and come into a puppy pose. Good. And then child's pose. And inhale, up to sitting. So one relationship to gravity we have not explored yet is the simple one of lying down on your back. So go ahead and lie on down. Now there's a number of things we can do recline, just like sitting and standing, all of them. There's a number of things. So I'm picking 3 today that I think are really good ones. That if you find yourself lying down and want to do a little movement beyond just breathing. First one is what some people call windshield wipers. I like to call the Elvis. So we're going to take your arms out to your side. You can be in a cactus position or arms straight out. I'm going to be in a cactus because of the space. Just want to make sure your wrists touch the ground. And then begin to take your left knee toward your right foot, and as you do that, let the right leg go out to the side. And then initiate from the right leg, bring the right leg up. Right knee goes towards the left foot as the left knee goes off to the side. And then go back and forth. And as you go back and forth, encourage, support the connection of the movement of the legs into the spine. So when you first start, especially if you start small, there isn't going to be a lot of movement. But as you begin to make the movements of the legs bigger, you're going to get more movement in the spine. So allow that to happen, encourage that to happen. You might find after a few going side to side, it feels good to let the thigh that the side you're turning to touch the ground, or part of it touch the ground. Let the movements go through your belly. So this is definitely a go-to when you're lying down. It's really good for back health. Next time you go over to the right, keep your knees there and lengthen through the top of the thigh. Breathe. Let your jaw soften. And then bring your legs up and over to the other side. And bring the knees up. Take your arms by your side, and second go-to. A lot of names for this, but one is figure 4 stretch, one is just thigh stretch. It's also known as the reclined pigeon or the wind relieving pose. Right ankle over the left thigh. You can use a strap or use your hands. As you bring your left knee into your chest, take your hand to the back of the thigh. So the intention here is to get some more rotation, opening, sense of movement in the outer hip. As you're holding, you can choose to move around a little bit. and then release. Place your left foot on the floor, right foot on the floor. And switch directions. If the sun just appears in your eyes, slide a little bit out of the sun. All right, left ankle over the right thigh. For that rotation, take your hands to your hip points so you keep them steady. Bring your right knee towards the chest. Hands to the back of the thigh. Breathe. And then maybe circle the thigh around a little. All right, and then release. Right leg down, left leg down. One more thing. Another go-to, which my guess is most of you already know, Supta Padangustasana. Great for the back, great for the legs. Take the right knee to your chest, take the strap around your right foot. Press your foot into the strap, strap into the foot. Find the back of the leg. I like to wrap my hand around the strap. Reach up with my heel, open up the spaces between the toes. Now the opposite leg, there's different variations you can do. One, you can have the knee bent. If you do that, just be careful not to press your foot into the ground and make your leg go all over the place. Another option is to have the leg extended. This is a classic or Iyengar yoga option with the leg very active. Some people especially advocate for women, especially people with wider hips, to take the leg a little off to the side. You can try that. Or some people just have that bottom leg relaxed. My personal preference is to either have the leg a little bit at an angle, this is for my body, or to have it relaxed. I'd like you to choose what feels right for you. And of course, really encourage the back of the leg to be extended. We're holding this one for a little longer. You know, if you don't have a lot of time, just doing a little bit of this can bring a lot of relief. It also often can encourage a relaxation response, get more of the parasympathetic aspect of the nervous system, the more resting, nourishing part to be activated. Right, and then release. Take a moment. I really advocate taking a little time between doing the other side. I know some people jump from one to the other, but I really like being able to feel the results on one side. And especially if you switch legs every month, which leg you start with, and you're not overdoing it on one side. Okay. Second side. I bring my thighs parallel to each other before I bring the knee into the chest. To keep that symmetry, take the strap around the foot, take the leg on up, press the foot into the strap, strap into the foot, reach through the heel, draw your toes towards your nose. And again, choose your variation for the leg. Right knee bent, right leg relaxed, right leg engaged, right leg engaged a little out to the side. Opening up the space between your toes. And just reasserting that leg is a nice full extension. And then release. All right, and then it's time for Shavasana. Sometimes just Shavasana could be the go-to position too. Take a moment to position yourself where you can feel comfortable and be here for a little while. Bring your awareness to your breath. Let your breath flow. And let the flow of the breath guide you to Shavasana, to relaxation. And then, slowly and gently, bring your awareness back to your body, back to your breath. Bring a little movement to your fingers. Bring a little movement to your toes. Reach a little through your arms, reach a little through your legs. And then bend one knee at a time. Roll over to your side. And make your way up to a seated position. Sit bones ground, spine lengthen. Let's bring the palms together over your heart. And may the practice support a greater sense of comfort, ease, joy, and freedom. Namaste. And mahalo. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed just doing a few things in each position. Of course, there's a lot of other things one could do, but to recognize that no matter what position we're sitting in, lying in, there's a lot of movements that we can do, and it feels good. I think this is a great way to begin the new year, just finding a few things that you can do when you only have a short period of time. Like sometimes myself too, I don't have a lot of time, and I get a little grumbly like, oh, I don't have a lot of time to practice, and then I realize, oh yeah, if I just stretch a little bit, open my spine up, do a little hip opener, something like that, I can feel as almost as good or even as good as if I've had a longer practice. Especially for those of you who've been practicing for a while, you know those feelings are in your body. And so sometimes it doesn't take a huge long practice to feel the effects of the practice that's already within you. Sometimes just taking a few breaths to reconnect can help feel that sense of integration and wholeness. Till next time, aloha.